Rip Curl. What a convenient name for a brand that is being cancelled at the moment. Yes, have you heard about this? This is crazy. Okay, so Rip Curl surf brand, they were bought out by Kathmandu, massive company. So now, of course, they've become woke, naturally. So the latest thing, Bud Light number 276, because these massive companies don't ever seem to learn. So this is the story. Rip Curl had this brand ambassador, this amazing, heroic girl. Her name is Bethany Hamilton. She is this extremely famous surfer. She unfortunately had her arm bitten off by a shark when she was 13 years old, but then still went on, got back into the water, went on to become junior and adult champion for surfing, even with no arm. Like, it's insane what this woman has done. Her achievements are unrivaled. She is a total hero in the eyes of so many, especially young girls looking up to her, because what she's accomplished is just, it's unfathomable. So she was the face of Rip Curl, and what a fitting ambassador for a surf brand. It's perfect. Inspirational. She's also a beautiful looking girl. She has amazing morals and values. She's so intelligent and so good at her craft. Bethany Hamilton is a Christian woman, and she is against transgender women competing in female sports, like many others. Why? Because it's unfair. We've been over this many times. So Bethany Hamilton came out and said her opinion. She said that she was against trans women in women's sport for a range of different reasons, and Rip Curl dropped her as a brand ambassador in December of 2023. Just last week, in January of 2024, they have now appointed a trans woman to be their ambassador. Her name is Sasha Lowerson. She is a 44-year-old trans woman. She's been surfing as a woman competitively for the last couple of years. She most recently surfed as a man in 2019. Let that sink in. She was surfing as a man in 2019. She went by the name of Ryan Egan in 2019. That's not very long ago. So Rip Curl made this big campaign about Sasha Lowerson, about her surfing career.
It's my life. How is it not? When the sun's out and it's offshore and we've got to set.
Look, Sasha Lowerson, I'm sure, is a great surfer, but you can see quite clearly from the pictures and videos, this person looks like a biological man. And to have someone that transitioned so recently as the face of a women's surfing campaign is plain offensive. What, they couldn't find any woman, biological woman, in the entirety of surfing around the world to front the campaign? It's an absolute travesty that they've done this. By doing this, they are saying to female surfers around the world, you are not good enough. We are going to choose a biological man because none of you are as good as this biological man to be the face of a female surf campaign. I mean, how would you feel as a top female surfer to be completely overlooked, to be at the top of your field, to have dedicated years and years and decades to surfing? A lot of these women start when they're so young, babies in the water, and then they train so hard. And surfing is a tough sport. To compete at the top levels and then to have a biological man sweep in and take this accolade, you would feel completely defeated as a woman. And we've seen this time and time again in female sports across the globe. Powerlifting, swimming, athletics, basketball. It's happened so many times. And there is backlash and outrage from female athletes because they're sick of it. They're sick of being overlooked, and they're sick of their hard work and hours of training going to waste because biological men with a clear physical advantage are just swooping in and taking everything from them, stealing first place, sponsorships, accolades, campaigns. All of these things equate to money. And these are these women's entire careers that are just being taken from under them. And it's so incredibly unfair. And the only reason that these trans women are getting these jobs is because they are trans women. When they were competing as men, They weren't extraordinary at all. They were mediocre at best. And then they come in and they compete against biological women who have absolutely no hope in hell beating them because they just don't have the physical attributes. And then they win. They have all this glory. They get to the top of the sport. They're an outlier. They're different and new. And they attract attention because they're diverse. And I guess it's a good thing to talk about. So it makes a good headline. And then these woke companies get on board because, well, they have to fulfill this DEI quota that they've got going on. So they bring them on as ambassadors, throw money at them. We saw this with Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, she's now a multimillionaire because of that Bud Light campaign that almost broke Bud Light. They walk away into the sunset. The companies almost go broke. The legitimate female athletes are devastated because suddenly their sport is overrun by biological men and the playing field is not at all fair. The customers of these brands hate it because going woke is ruining these brands that they once loved. No one is happy except for the very few trans people that actually get to these dizzying heights. I don't know why these companies don't learn. This happens so often. And it's happening again with Rip Curl. The backlash over the last couple of days has been so profound, and I'm so happy to see this because finally women, men, customers of Rip Curl are standing up. Rip Curl is trending all over Twitter and every social media. People are sick of it. They are sick of this woke nonsense being shoved down their throats. And thank God Bethany Hamilton is taking this like a champ, as you would expect, because she is a champ. She went on Twitter, X, just yesterday and said male-bodied athletes should not be competing in female sports, period. She's doubled down on her beliefs, and I'm so glad to see it. Because it's hard. It's hard when you're being trolled and you're being targeted and you've been dumped by a major brand. It's hard to maintain your values, but clearly Bethany is a very strong-willed woman and she's not backing down. And we've seen it with Riley Gaines before. It's just so liberating to see these female voices coming out and speaking on behalf of female athletes. We're honestly now at the point where supporting a transgender person trumps supporting women. And how many years have women fought to be seen as equal in sports, to get the same remuneration, to get the same brand deals, TV rights? It's been a struggle and women aren't there yet, by no means. But now with trans thrown in the mix, there's absolutely no way they're going to get there. You want to talk about sexism? Putting trans women above biological women is essentially rewarding men. So how have we gotten to a point where these woke companies are now prioritizing men above women? Then the International Surfing Association isn't helping either. They're just as bad. Get this. They have an official policy that transgender women can compete as whatever gender they identify as, so long as their testosterone is below a certain level. That's it. That's their only standard for competition in surfing. Now, this is so unfair because, as I said, this woman, Sasha Lowerson, only stopped competing as a man in 2019. And she's 44 years old. It's not like she's a prepubescent or a teenager and hasn't really developed muscle. No, 44 years old. She's had an entire life of being a man. 40 years of being a man. A sporty, muscular man at that. There is no way that she is losing 40 years of muscle in 4 years just by taking medication. And you can see her now. I'll insert a picture. She's still muscular. She still has a very masculine physique, which of course would help her in surfing. Surfing is all about power. There is no way that that would not be an advantage. And this is why there is such an outcry. But Rip Curl has acted pretty swiftly. I think they didn't realize that they would get such backlash. I mean, how could they not? These massive companies are so naive. I don't know if they're naive. I don't know if just they are so arrogant that they think that they will be the exception, but there has been backlash and it has been big. They haven't come out and said anything because they're cowards, but they have removed the post from their Instagram profile, which it's the least that they could do. But I think a public apology to Bethany Hamilton would be in order. And I think an acknowledgement of female sports and female sports people and surfers is also in order, because This whole stunt has shown that they don't value female sports people as much as they value male sports people. That's it. And I'm sure they've offended the entire community of female surfers. So there needs to be a lot of soul searching done at Rip Curl. Clearly their PR machine is in overdrive, but it's all of their own doing. A boycott of Rip Curl hopefully will provide them with perspective and a kick up the bum to realize that their customers value women's sport. And that needs to be reflected in their campaign. People are angry about this. I'm angry about this because it keeps happening. And until people stop buying the brand that's offending, then they're gonna keep doing it. This virtue signaling agenda trumps anything. That's what we've learned. If we've learned anything from the past few years, virtue signaling, DEI, pandering to the smallest minority, these are the KPIs of the marketing team of these big companies. We saw it with Bud Light. And then people stopped buying it. Their share price took a hit, and that's when they changed. They did a whole 180. That was crazy. That's gonna be studied one day. Going from trans Dylan Mulvaney back to total classic, iconic Bud Light, partnering with the UFC. It's that transformation in such a short amount of time is wild. And let's hope it happens to all of these brands. I don't know why these brands have not learned from that. It was just such an obvious, big, massive stuff up, and they're still doing it. But let's hope the customers of Rip Curl do the same thing and it really hurts the brand, because that's the only way they're going to learn.